Investments worth 100 million euros were flying around. Transfer fee records were shattered. Expectations climbed to Everest. But what came next? Transfer means change. What's new always sparks curiosity and excitement, but change does not always bring happiness. There are transfers where things are doomed to go wrong from the very moment the signature is signed. Today, we won't be talking about bad or untalented players. We'll be taking a closer look at transfers that couldn't bear the weight of huge expectations and burst like a balloon. He is one of those who truly wasted his immense talent. In 2016, when he was just 23, Pogba moved from Juventus to Manchester United for a $105 million transfer fee, breaking the record as the most expensive transfer in history at the time. Imagine a 1.90 meter tall player who can play both sides of the game, athletic and strong as a bull. Moreover, despite this incredible physique, his ball control, long-range shots, and especially his long passing ability were truly unique. On the other hand, Pogba had certain flaws that weren't really noticeable during his time at Juventus. Some systems can make certain players look far better than they actually are. Behind him was Andrea Pirlo, alongside him Vidal and Marchisio, then Bonucci and Chiellini, and at the very back, Gigi Buffon. When you have so many on-field leaders, a talented player like Pogba can become a star simply by playing his role without taking on more responsibility than he can carry. However, at United, the club where he came through the academy, and to which he returned by breaking the transfer record, expectations were naturally very different. Now, everyone was expecting him to take center stage and truly own the club. You know how some transfers are clearly a bubble from the very day the contract is signed? Well, the Jack Grealish transfer was one of those. A product of Aston Villa's academy, Grealish showed slow but steady development during his 8 years as a first-team player there. He became a regular starter, was named team captain, and eventually earned his first senior England cap. He consistently ranked near the top in metrics such as shot creation and goal-creating actions, and he was the most fouled player in the league. I think this is where Grealish's dilemma really begins. He was everything for Villa. Every ball went through him, and he made the decisions for almost everything. Perhaps the statistics of a player who touches the ball this much should be approached with a bit more caution. What's more, Grealish was a complete image icon. With his hair, low-cut socks, and spectacular flair, he was one of the most stylish English players since David Beckham, and by 2020, he was already one of the most important English players in the Premier League. Grealish finished an entire season with just 1 goal and 1 assist, yet was still included in the World Cup squad. Setting aside his record transfer fee, his contract worth over $15 million per year, along with allegations of alcohol-related issues, turned him into a player even Manchester City struggled to move on. Another move by Manchester United, one of the most ambitious teams in the transfer market. In his attempt to build an entire XI from players he brought in from the Eredivisie, Erik ten Hag's biggest blunder at United was Antony. There are several factors that affect a product's price. One of them is the buyer. If you're a club like Chelsea or Manchester United, known for being willing to pay above market value, the price of your next purchase automatically goes up. These clubs end up making the mistake of inflating the market value of the players they want with their own hands. Another factor, of course, is the market you're buying from. If you sit down at the negotiating table with Ajax, a club famous not only for its academy, but also for polishing young talents it signs from elsewhere and selling them on, negotiations are bound to start at very high figures. And if the player has also played for the Brazilian national team, oh, forget it. When you list and add all of this up, even a player like Antony, who hadn't truly proven himself yet, could be transferred for $95 million. It was obvious from the very beginning that this price was unreasonable, but Antony's problems on the pitch were not limited to the pressure caused by his hefty fee. The Brazilian footballer attributes his lack of success to personal issues. In interviews with the media and on his social media accounts, he says that family matters and the turmoil in his private life have negatively affected his football. And he even admits that due to the mental issues he experienced, he completely lost his focus on the pitch. Well, he's hardly going to come out and say, "I'm a bad player," right? Jokes aside, during his short loan spell at Betis, the Brazilian did manage to pull himself together somewhat. Still, delivering value worthy of a $95 million price tag looks almost impossible. Here's a transfer that looked like a perfect hit on paper, but completely flopped on the pitch. In the 2020-21 season, Lukaku scored 24 goals in Serie A and led Inter to their first league title in 11 years. There was a broad consensus that he was one of the 5 or 6 best strikers in the world. By bringing Lukaku back to London for $113 million in the summer, Chelsea, already the reigning Champions League winners, seemed certain to have strengthened their squad even further. However, his second spell in London was shaky from the very beginning. Chelsea's playing style did not suit the way Lukaku wanted to play, and the Belgian star did not hesitate to voice his dissatisfaction while the season was barely at its second international break. In an interview with Sky Italia, he said, "I'm not happy here. I miss Inter," putting both the fans and head coach Thomas Tuchel against him. After this interview, Lukaku's credibility quickly ran out. He needed to fight for his place in the team, but he lacked both the morale and the physical condition to do so. Romelu has always been prone to gaining weight. In Tuchel's vision of a fast, dynamic, and fluid style of play, Lukaku appeared cumbersome and lacked pace. His minutes decreased, his body fat increased, his finishing ability dulled, and his confidence hit rock bottom. In that single season, he managed to score only 8 goals in the Premier League. Lukaku's unexpected collapse dealt Chelsea not only a sporting blow, but also a heavy financial one. The $113 million investment became one of the biggest regrets in the club's history. After being loaned to Inter and Roma in 2 separate seasons, Lukaku was sold to Napoli for $30 million under the cut your losses logic. Alongside United, another club where he has carved out a respectable place is Chelsea. On the contrary, the London club, under its new owners, began spending senseless, unnecessary money, and there are 2 midfielders they signed 6 months apart lined up next. Enzo Fernandez was one of the key players who led Argentina to the World Cup title in Qatar 2022, and is genuinely a very good footballer. But how can we explain that while Liverpool bought the other one, Alexis McAllister, for just $42 million, Enzo went for $120 million? Or that in the same summer, while Real Madrid snapped up a gem like Jude Bellingham for $113 million, Chelsea spent the same amount on Moises Caicedo. Enzo and Caicedo are, of course, very good players. There's no doubt about that. Let's forget their prices for a moment. Both are consistent players who contribute to their teams and might even give more in the future. But a good player is one thing, a special player is something else entirely. For players bought at these prices, so to speak, they are expected to perform miracles. Yet the number of players in the world who can actually do that is so small that in reality, such sums should only be paid to those special few. If you had the chance to watch him during his Lyon days, you might remember. At the time, Ndombele was one of Europe's most exciting young talents with his dribbling ability and dynamism. He was a rare talent. His skill at breaking the opponent's press and driving the ball forward made him Tottenham's most expensive transfer in the summer of 2019. Spurs paid $62 million for the Frenchman, bringing Tanguy to North London amid great expectations. However, the high tempo and physicality of the Premier League seemed a bit too much for Ndombele. He immediately started struggling with injuries. Jose Mourinho, who was managing Tottenham at the time, didn't hesitate to openly criticize him, saying, "Whenever I see him, he's injured." Yes, getting injured isn't always the player's fault, but it became clear in the following years that Ndombele was a player who didn't enjoy working hard and didn't take good care of his body. That's all for now. If you want to see part 2 of our biggest transfer busts, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Catch you later.